You've been told all your life to prove yourself, to chase, to perform, to earn her attention, as if your worth depended on it. So you text first, you plan, you try harder. And somehow, the harder you try, the further she drifts. What no one told you is that effort doesn't always translate to value. Sometimes it reveals desperation, the quiet panic of a man who fears being unseen. This isn't a game of manipulation. It's a lesson in energy. Stillness speaks louder than pursuit. A calm man carries a gravity that no performance can imitate. True detachment isn't coldness, it's strength without display. It's caring, but not collapsing. Wanting, but not needing. The moment you stop chasing is the moment she begins to feel your absence, not as distance, but as depth. When you stop trying to be chosen, you become the man who chooses. And that's where real attraction begins. 1. When you chase her, you lose her. Instinctively. Attraction fades the moment your energy says, I need you to choose me. It doesn't matter how sharp you are, how disciplined your life looks, or how sincere your intentions sound. Once she feels that your emotional balance depends on her response, something deep within her retreats, instinctively. I've seen this play out countless times. A friend of mine, a surgeon, grounded, intelligent, genuinely kind, met a woman at an art gallery. Their first conversation was effortless. She laughed, leaned in, exchanged numbers. Then he did what most men do when they finally meet someone who excites them. He started managing the connection. Texts every morning, double-checking plans, asking if she was okay when her replies slowed. Within 2 weeks, she vanished. He was confused. He thought consistency would prove care. But he didn't realize attraction lives in polarity. One moves forward, the other needs room to respond. When you chase, you erase that space. And when the space collapses, so does her desire. It's not that women dislike kindness. They withdraw from dependence, the kind that hides beneath affection. They can feel the difference between genuine interest and the subtle tension of emotional need. Desire thrives in tension, not pressure. Tension is the quiet electricity that exists between two people. The possibility that something might happen. Pressure is what happens when you try to make it happen. It suffocates what could have breathed. Every time you over-pursue, she feels the weight of your need. Every text carries an unspoken question. Do you still like me? Every gesture whispers, am I enough? And that silent need drains the attraction faster than words ever could. When you stop chasing, something shifts. She feels space again, not distance, but relief. That's when safety returns. That's when curiosity returns, because now she's free to feel her own desire instead of being trapped under yours. It doesn't mean you disappear. It means you stop managing what doesn't need managing. Stop filling silence. Stop checking when nothing's broken. One woman once told me, "The moment I realized you'd be fine without me, that's when I actually wanted to be near you." That's the paradox most men never see. Your care isn't the issue. It's when your care turns into control, when every move carries the hope of securing her. The man who chases says, "Please don't leave." The man who's calm says, "I'm here. You're free to stay or go." One breeds anxiety. The other, quiet, steady, unbothered, breeds attraction. Part 2. Why trying too hard makes you forget your power. Most men live by a broken equation. Effort equals worth. They believe that if they care more, show up more, try harder, she'll finally see their value. So they overgive. They plan perfect dates. They send long messages when a few words would have said more. They try to predict her needs before she even speaks them. And somehow, every time, it falls apart. I know, because I was that man once. She mentioned loving live music, so I bought the tickets 2 months in advance, chose the restaurant, cleared my entire weekend. Then she canceled, said work came up. I tried again. She canceled again. By the third time, I understood she didn't feel my thoughtfulness. She felt my anxiety. Every gesture carried a hidden question. Is this enough? Am I enough? I thought I was showing care, but what I was really showing was fear. And fear, no matter how carefully disguised, repels. Women don't just hear your words, they read your nervous system. They sense the tension in your tone when you speak. They notice the hesitation before you suggest a plan. They feel it when your peace depends on their reply. Your intention may be pure, but if it's driven by the fear of being unchosen, that fear speaks louder than anything you say. True value doesn't need to announce itself. It's felt in calm presence. Think of the people you respect most. They don't chase recognition. They simply are. Their steadiness commands attention without effort. Their silence carries weight because it comes from certainty, not insecurity. A friend once told me about his father, a quiet man, almost stoic. He rarely offered advice, but when he did, everyone stopped to listen. Not because he demanded respect, but because he never needed it. That's what women respond to. Not the man who fights for approval, but the man who's already anchored in his own worth. Effort born from fear isn't love. It's need wearing a mask. It says, I'll do anything to keep you because I'm terrified of losing myself if you go. That's not devotion. That's dependence. You don't have to prove you're enough when you already know you are. This isn't arrogance. It's self-respect. Quiet, unshakable, grounded. It's the knowing that whether she stays or leaves, your value doesn't move. And when you finally stop trying to prove yourself, something softens. The nervous energy fades. You stop checking your phone. You stop rehearsing words to earn a response. Peace takes its place. And in that peace, calm, sure, unforced, you become the man you were pretending to be all along. Part 3. How calm detachment makes you irresistible. Calm detachment is emotional maturity made visible. It's not coldness. It's not indifference. It's strength under control. The ability to stay centered when everything around you starts to shake. And in attraction, that calm presence is the most magnetic quality a man can ever possess. Most men misunderstand detachment. They think it means caring less. It doesn't. True detachment is caring fully without being owned by the outcome. It's the art of loving without clinging the Stoic principle that says you can hold something precious without trying to possess it. I learned this lesson through loss. I was in a relationship that was slowly dissolving. Her messages grew shorter. Her warmth faded. My instinct was to fix it, to ask, to chase, to prove I was worth staying for. But this time, I didn't. I stopped reacting to what I couldn't control. I didn't chase clarity or force connection. When we were together, I stayed present, calm, real, unhurried. And when we weren't, I let the silence stand. 2 weeks later, she reached out. She said she'd been testing me, wondering if I'd panic, if I'd crumble. But I didn't. And in that stillness, she felt something she hadn't before safety. Calm detachment works on 3 levels: mental, emotional, and behavioral. Mentally, you stop personalizing rejection. When she doesn't text back, your mind doesn't whisper, "What did I do wrong?" It simply says, "She's living her life." When she seems distant, you don't spiral. You recognize that people have their own internal worlds. Complex, shifting, private. Her mood isn't your fault. Her silence isn't your punishment. Emotionally, you allow yourself to feel everything, but you stop reacting to it. Detachment isn't about suppressing emotion. It's about slowing down between feeling and action. You feel the anxiety when she goes quiet. You feel the sting when plans change. But you don't let those feelings decide for you. You ride the wave without letting it drown you. A mentor once told me, "Emotions are information, not instructions." That truth changes everything. Jealousy tells you where you feel insecure. Anger points to a boundary you haven't defended, but you are the one who chooses how to respond. Behaviorally, you act from integrity, not fear. You ask yourself, what would the man I respect be doing right now? Not what will make her stay, or what will make her like me. When your actions align with your values, you become consistent, predictable in the best way. You stop bending yourself to fit her mood. You become steady ground, something rare and deeply attractive. People often confuse detachment with indifference. But detachment is not apathy, it's dignity in motion. It says, "I want you here, but I'll still be whole if you're not." A woman can feel that difference instantly. Neediness asks, "Please see me." Presence says, "I already see myself." Detachment isn't a wall. It's freedom. The freedom to love fully without losing your center. It's being open, invested, even vulnerable, while holding one quiet truth inside my peace is not negotiable. When you reach this state, your energy changes. You no longer feel like someone seeking something. You become someone offering something calm, grounded, complete. That's the paradox of attraction. When you stop trying to be irresistible, you finally become it. Part 4. She feels you. More when you say less. Magnetism isn't in what you say. It's in what you carry. Most men mistake attraction for performance. Clever words, flawless stories, perfect timing. They believe connection is built by effort. So they fill every silence, explain every action, over-justify every intention. But the truth is quieter and harder. She feels you most when you say less. I remember sitting across from a woman at dinner. The conversation paused. My instinct was to fill it, to keep things alive, to say something smart. Instead, I just stayed there, present, relaxed, letting the silence breathe. Later, she told me, That was the moment everything shifted. Most men panic in silence, she said. You didn't. That's when I knew you were different. Calmness is contagious. When you're grounded, the room softens around you. When you're restless, everyone feels the static. Women sense this faster than words can explain. They don't just listen. They read your stillness, your tone, the subtle rhythm of your breathing. What they're really asking is simple. Can I trust this man's emotional state? When your energy is steady, when you're not reacting, performing, or chasing reassurance, she feels something rare. Not boredom, safety. The kind that lets her exhale, drop her armor, and finally feel desire without managing your need. Silence speaks in ways words never can. It's in your tone when you do speak, calm, unrushed. It's in your body, still composed, unbothered. It's in your timing, you don't rush to fill space because you don't fear it. A man who isn't rushing radiates quiet strength, not because he's pretending, but because he trusts the moment. He's not desperate to control it. There's a difference between indifference and mastery. Indifference says, I don't care. Mastery says, I care, but I'm not ruled by it. One closes the door, the other opens it calmly, without expectation. And women can feel that difference immediately. A friend of mine once went on a date with a woman who'd been distant for weeks. During dinner, she tested him. I'm just not good at relationships, she said, waiting for him to chase, to reassure, to prove he was different. He didn't. He simply nodded. That's fair. We all have our patterns. No defense, no effort to persuade, just calm acceptance. She called him the next day. They've been together ever since. Because when a woman pulls back, and she will, the calm man doesn't chase. He doesn't flood her with messages. He doesn't demand clarity. He stays grounded, keeps his focus, keeps his life moving. Not as a tactic, but as truth. He means it when he gives her space. He's not waiting by the phone. He's not counting the hours. He's training, working, reading, creating, living as if nothing has changed. Because nothing has. His worth didn't start with her attention, and it doesn't end with her absence. That stillness becomes gravity. The man who can sit in uncertainty without unraveling, who can hold space without filling it, who can stay calm when others would cling. That man draws others in without trying, not through performance, not through words, but through the quiet power of his presence. She doesn't need more from you. She just needs to feel that you already are enough. Part 5. Control yourself and she'll respect you. Instantly. Emotional control is the quiet currency of respect, not the kind you demand, not the kind you negotiate for, the kind that's given freely when a woman realizes she's standing in front of a man who governs himself. Most men misunderstand control. They confuse it with dominance, louder voices, sharper words, stubborn pride. But that isn't control. That's insecurity, trying to disguise itself as strength. Real control is consistency. It's being the same man when things are calm and when they're collapsing. The same when she's warm or cold, close or distant loving or uncertain. I learned this in a moment that could have ended everything. She was angry, and she had reason to be. I'd been distracted, buried in work, absent for weeks. Her voice stayed calm, but her words cut deep. They were meant to sting, to draw a reaction. Every instinct in me wanted to fight back, to defend, to explain, to turn the blame around. But instead, I paused, took a breath, let the fire pass through without grabbing it. "You're right," I said quietly. "I haven't been present. That's on me." Something shifted. The tension dissolved. Not because I surrendered, but because I refused to turn it into war. I stayed centered when she expected me to lose myself. What she was really testing wasn't my apology. It was my energy. She was asking silently, "Can I trust him when things get hard?" That's the real question. Every woman asks consciously, or not. Not Will. He always agree with me. But will he stay steady when challenged? Will he become someone else when hurt or angry? The man who reacts from ego loses power the moment he opens his mouth. Ego is easy to manipulate. Poke it, and it erupts. Ignore it, and it panics. Once a woman senses that your emotions are predictable, respect disappears. But the man who can pause, breathe, and then choose that man stands apart. He feels deeply, but acts deliberately. He doesn't suppress emotion. He governs it. Pause. When the emotion hits, anger, jealousy, fear, give it space. Even 3 seconds of stillness can change the outcome. Breathe. A slow inhale, a calm exhale. It's not weakness. It's control over your physiology, a reminder to your body that you're not in danger. Decide. Act not from reaction, but from integrity. Ask yourself, what would the man I respect do here? Never speak in heat. Not because you fear conflict, but because you understand words, born from anger, are rarely true, only sharp. A mentor once told me, the man who can control his tongue in the first 10 seconds of anger has already won. Control, however, is not suppression. It's not pretending to be unbothered. It's not avoiding confrontation or burying truth. Control is self-leadership. It's saying, I feel this, but it doesn't own me. It's processing first, then speaking clearly. It's drawing boundaries without punishment. It's honesty without cruelty. The man who masters himself never needs to master others. He doesn't need to control her, fix her, or dominate the space. Because when you've taken full responsibility for your inner world, you allow others to live freely in theirs. That's where respect is born. Not from power over her, but from peace within yourself. Not from winning the argument, but from remaining the same man, even when everything's on fire. When she sees you steady in chaos, she stops testing. Because she's found what she was searching for all along, a man she can trust when the world stops making sense. And trust, quiet, earned unspoken, is the purest form of respect there is. Part 6. When you let go, she starts wondering. When you stop chasing, she feels it not right away, but eventually. At first, she won't notice the silence. She's used to your messages, your check-ins, your steady presence, filling every gap. Then, a day passes. Then 2. And somewhere between those hours of quiet, a question appears. Where did he go? This isn't punishment. It's not a tactic or a game. The moment you turn silence into strategy, you've already lost. Because beneath that, I'll show her attitude is still the same old need. The need to be seen, to be validated, to be chased back. And women feel that energy instantly. Letting go isn't about manipulation. It's about mystery, the real kind. The kind that appears naturally when a man pulls his attention back into his own life. I watched a friend go through this shift. He'd been seeing a woman for months, always the one initiating, always available, always accommodating her schedule. She liked him, but she wasn't invested. Then, one day, he simply stopped. Not to prove a point, but because he was tired. He focused on work, started training again, reconnected with his old friends. He stopped managing the connection and started living. 2 weeks later, she texted, "You've been quiet. Everything okay?" For the first time, she was wondering. Absence creates reflection. When you're always present, always pursuing, you leave no room for her to miss you. But when you step back calmly, naturally, space appears. And in that space, curiosity begins to grow. Before, every silence was your cue to reach out to maintain the rhythm, to keep her engaged. Now, you let silence breathe. You're not checking her stories. You're not waiting for her message. You're not performing indifference. You're genuinely occupied because your life demands your attention again. That's where the real shift happens inside you. You stop seeking reaction and you start holding frame. Frame is the emotional gravity you carry. When you chase, you surrender it. Her mood decides yours. Her availability determines your peace. But when you let go, your frame returns. You're steady again, grounded in purpose, not approval. You're content because your life is full, not because she responded. You're fulfilled because you're building, not because you're being noticed. A colleague once told me about a turning point in his own story. He'd been dating someone hot and cold 1 week, engaged the next, withdrawn. Finally, he said to her calmly, "I enjoy spending time with you, but I'm not interested in chasing. If you want to see me, let me know. Otherwise, I'll assume you're busy. No resentment, no games, just clarity." She showed up 3 days later. "I needed to know you weren't going to keep chasing, no matter what," she said. "The moment I realized you could walk away, I didn't want you to." That's the paradox of absence. It carries presence. When you stop chasing the space you leave behind isn't empty. It's charged. She remembers your voice, your steadiness, your calm. She wonders where that energy went and why it no longer needs her attention to exist. But it only works if it's real. If you're pretending to be detached while secretly checking your phone, she'll feel that. Authenticity is what gives your silence its weight. When your energy is truly redirected toward your craft, your health, your purpose, the absence becomes powerful. Letting go teaches people how to treat your presence. When you chase, you teach them your attention is cheap, always available, always waiting. When you let go, you teach something else, that your time and focus are valuable. That access to your energy must be earned, not assumed. That's not arrogance. That's dignity, the quiet kind that doesn't need to announce itself. And when you embody that truth, something happens. She starts remembering. reconsidering, wondering. Because the moment you stop chasing is the moment she realizes she should have held on tighter. Part 7. The 7-day challenge to reclaim your power. If you've come this far, you already understand the truth. Now comes the test, not of theory, but of presence. This isn't about tactics or guaranteed outcomes. It's about taking back what you lost when you started chasing your center, your calm, your power. So here's a 7-day challenge. Not to make her miss you, not to trigger a reaction, but to remember who you are when you stop reaching. Day 1. Detach from outcome. Begin with one declaration. Whatever happens, I remain centered. Write it down. Say it out loud. Let it settle in your bones. This week isn't about her. It's about you. You're not detaching from a woman. You're detaching from the illusion that your peace depends on her response. Can you sit in uncertainty without refreshing her profile? Can you go a day or two without checking for signs of her attention? Detachment begins the moment you stop measuring your worth by someone else's reaction. Day 2. 3. Observe the pull. The urge will come. That familiar need to text, to check in, to reach out just once. You'll feel it in your chest, that tightening, that restless hum that says, do something. Don't. Just watch it. Notice how the mind spins stories. She's forgetting me. She's moved on. If I don't act, it's over. Let those thoughts pass like weather. They're not truth, they're fear. And fear always leads you back to weakness. Every time you feel the pull and choose not to act, you reclaim a small piece of your strength. You're not winning her back. You're winning yourself back. Day 4. Recenter. By now, the silence may start to sting. Good. That discomfort is the echo of dependence leaving your system. Sit with it. 5 minutes. No phone. No distractions. Inhale for 4. Hold for 4. Exhale for 6. Repeat. You're not meditating to escape. You're recalibrating. You're teaching your body that peace doesn't require reassurance. That even when she's silent, you remain whole. A friend once told me, during my breakup, those 5 minutes of breathing were the only time I felt like myself. That's where strength begins, in the stillness you don't run from. Day 5-6. Redirect energy. Now that space exists, fill it with substance. Move your body. Sweat. Lift. Run. Let the restless energy burn itself clean. Then build. Work on something that's yours. A project, a goal, a mission that doesn't depend on anyone else's validation. Don't do it to distract yourself. Do it to remember yourself. Write. Every day. Pour out the noise, the anger, the hope, the fear. See it on paper, not in your head. Each day of silence strengthens your gravity. You're no longer orbiting someone's approval. You're becoming your own center of mass again. Day 7. Reflect. At the end of this week, ask one question. Do I feel more at peace than I did 7 days ago? If the answer is yes, then you've already won. Because your calm no longer depends on her presence. It depends on your ability to hold yourself steady, no matter who stays or leaves. Maybe she reached out. maybe she didn't. It doesn't matter. Something deeper has shifted. You stopped giving your power away. Here's what most men never learn. Calm doesn't repel love. It refines it. It reveals who's aligned with your peace and who only wanted your chaos. The woman who needs your anxiety to feel desired, she fades away. The woman who respects your stillness, she leans in. Because your peace is rare, and real peace attracts what's meant to stay. This challenge was never about her. It's about you returning to yourself, the man who doesn't chase, because he's already worth being chosen. Outro. The quiet magnetism of stillness. When you stop chasing women, you stop running from yourself. That's what this was always about. The pursuit was never really about her. It was an escape from the deeper question. Am I enough if no one chooses me? The answer is yes. You always were. You just forgot somewhere between the silence, the effort, and the need to prove. The calm man wins not through tactics or noise, but through energy. He doesn't perform. He doesn't persuade. He simply is. Grounded, present, untouched by the chaos that desperation breeds. Stillness isn't the absence of movement. It's mastery in motion. It's the ability to act, to speak, to connect, without losing yourself in the process. It's the kind of presence that people feel before they understand why. You don't attract through performance. You attract through peace, through that quiet confidence that says, I'm here, I'm open, but I'm whole either way. There's an old truth every man must learn. The one who isn't desperate for attention becomes the one everyone notices. So this week, let silence speak for you. Don't chase. Don't fill the gaps. Don't force what's fading. Just stay still. Stay grounded. Watch how respect returns. Watch how attraction follows. Not because you played a part, but because you have finally stopped performing. You became magnetic the moment you came home to yourself.